Hey guys, happy Monday. Let's give it one more minute while we are going live. If you are catching this, if you are catching this in the replay, go ahead and say hi. If you're catching this live, let me know where you are viewing from. And we're going to be getting started in just a few. Let's see if we can get it uploaded on Instagram. Hey, Instagram. How are you guys? So let's see. Hey guys, how are you? How are you today? Okay, so we're gonna go live. We're talking about mindset and how to really have the right mindset that you really need to start or grow your tax and bookkeeping business, right? So if you're catching this live, like I said, go ahead and say hi. Let me know where you are tuning in from. If you're catching the replay, do the same thing. Let me know. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen on, a lot of this free training today. I have taken some notes and I kind of just want to walk you guys through just my personal journey, right? Just how I was able to overcome some mindset limitations, right? Some limiting beliefs about myself, and how I was able to break those limiting beliefs, reprogram my mind that has allowed me to now reach some of my wildest dreams, right? So, right now, I am in my dream home. It's almost 8,000 square feet off of the lake, 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, all the goodness, right? 4-car garage. And, we're breaking revenue records each and every month in our business, right? And we're having, most importantly, the impact that I knew I always wanted, right? To impact people, to help them. And really, my mission when I first started was just to make you guys' journey easier, right? How can I give you the tools, the resources, the information to help make your journey easier to where you don't have to make some of the same mistakes that I made, right? You don't have to go through all of the hardships, the trials, the tribulations, the blood, sweat, and tears just to try to get to this level, right? So I'm going to try to help you and really break some limiting beliefs that I know might be holding some of you back right now, even though you might have already been in business, right? Or this might be your second or third venture, or you've probably been doing this, you've been trying to get started, but you just can't seem to kind of like break the code, right? So we're going to talk about all of these little nuances, some of the stuff that's playing on in the background that you might not be aware of, right? So the very first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So for you guys that are on IG, you might want to hop on over to YouTube because we're going to be sharing a little bit of our screen today and actually kind of going through some real life training examples for you guys, right? I actually want to, dive deep on this subject. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and hopefully YouTube, you can see my screen in just a second. All right, so we have our Mindset Live training today. Okay, so the first thing that I want to really bring to your attention is a lot of the things and strategies that I do, I kind of synthesize it into principles, right? Core principles that allows me to go back and have the same process, the same state of mind, the same kind of workflow in order to get the same result, right? So your core principles are, when you're evaluating a new hire or when you're evaluating a business decision, what are the questions that you ask yourself that allows you to come to a decision, right? That allows you to come to an end result, which is what's the best option, what's the best route you should go on. In my opinion, and how I've been able to hit some of my wildest dreams is that I created my own methodology on how I hit my goals, right? On how I, what type of books I read, what type of coaches I invest in. Everything goes down to core principles and core methodologies that you follow that pretty much stay consistent. So this is how you're actually going to get repeatable results is you want to have a process that you take yourself through when you're problem solving, when you're trying to figure something out. You want to have a process and how you get there, right? And so my key to success, I've broken it down into this simple equation. It's strategy, plus mindset equals the formula to obtaining your dreams. And so here's how I synthesize this formula. I say 50% of your success comes from strategy, right? It comes from your coaches, your mentor, maybe just your innate skills, right? You may just be really, a really good communicator, or you may be really great at marketing or operations. There is a fine line between strategy and mindset. There are a lot of people that have all the strategies in the world, right? But they still never get to where they truly desire because they lack that mindset piece, and vice versa, right? You can have the mindset, you can believe you can, but if you don't actually invest in a strategy, if you don't invest in your skill set, you won't ultimately hit the desire that you want or the big goals that you're trying to achieve. So here's what I've written down. 50% of your success is strategy. The other 50% is mindset. And so let me walk through a few scenarios. Let's just say you are a great communicator, right? Or let's just say you have a very valuable skill set, right? You might be skilled in a particular trade or a line of business, right? Because you have a good strategy, you're able to, let's just say, get a really great job, right? Because of the strategy, because of your skill set. But because you are deficient on the mindset piece, your mindset is totally not there. What you're going to find is you're going to find that you're going to get into these jobs and you're going to, either bring the morale of the team down or your own morale is going to be down, right? You're going to find that you're going to be in contention with your boss or your boss's boss or your coworkers, right? Because that mindset piece isn't there. You're skilled at this particular job, but you don't have the mindset or the emotional intelligence to really take you to that next level. So this is just an example on how you have to have strategy plus mindset. Another example that I have written for myself here is, if you guys ever put up the statistics on the people that win the lottery, it's fascinating, right? A lot of, these statistics show that people that win a lottery, get addicted to drugs and, alcohol, and ultimately there's a lot of cases of even death of people that have won large sums of money. And so a lot of that, again, just goes to having a strategy, right? They knew how to play the lottery, they stayed consistent, that was their strategy, but the mindset didn't allow them to be fruitful, right? Didn't allow them to actually build wealth. It allowed them to get rich, but not allow them to build wealth, right? In which case, if you guys research, a lot of people actually lose a lot of their money after a period of time, which brings me to my final point on why strategy plus mindset is simultaneous. You have to have both components in order to hit your wildest dreams. The final example that I have here is I did some research some years back, at least 10 plus years back, on people making it into the rap industry, right? People that became very successful. And so those people, and even like stars, and even athletes, they've followed a lot of these very successful athletes and rap stars and R&B stars, and what they found is they made a lot of money while they were at their height of their career, but a lot of those people went broke. A lot of those people didn't have a game plan. They didn't diversify their investments. They didn't have any other multiple streams of income coming in besides that one strategy or skill set that they had, right? And so this just goes to show that you have to have both aspects in order to really truly build long-term sustainable wealth. You can't just have a strategy and skills and then just go out and do it, because what's going to happen if you don't have the mindset to sustain you, if you don't have the mindset to persevere, you're going to self-sabotage, you're going to self-doubt, and ultimately you're going to be back at square one. You're going to realize like, oh man, I got this skill, or I know how to do this. I have this strategy that I paid for or that I researched, but you really can't figure out why you still aren't getting the results that you want to get. It's because there is a mindset deficiency, right? And my hope is today that we're going to walk through some of these mindset deficiencies so you guys can break them, okay? All right. So the very second thing that I want to talk about is the feeling gets the blessing, right? And regardless of whatever your spiritual or religious beliefs is, you can call it blessing, luck, you can call it manifesting. It really doesn't matter. They all mean the same thing. A lot of people say you have to believe in yourself. You have to have faith, right? But what does that really mean, to have faith, to have belief? right? And ultimately, what it boils down to a feeling. And so, what the quote here is, the feeling gets the blessing, is that you can think all day long on, millionaire, and you want to build wealth, and you want to have, impact, and you want to have this fancy car or this fancy home. We can think these things all day long, but if you don't have the feeling, you're not going to achieve it, right? So we need to start tapping into the feeling, which is going to in turn increase our belief system, increase our faith that we can hit that goal, right? So one of the things, and I'll do this with you guys in another training session on how I actually manifest, right? The step-by-step process on how I meditate and how I manifest. And a part of my meditation is invoking the feeling that I want to experience when I achieve this goal, or when something that I desire happens. And guys, you could do this right now. You can think about, becoming a millionaire, or, getting that dream car, or meeting that special person. We could think about that all day long, but until you internalize it into a feeling, it's going to be hard to sync the two together, your mindset with your strategy, right? So right now you can close your eyes and you can think about one intention. You can think about what's one thing that you really, really want right now today, right? Just one thing. I know we have several things that we want to achieve in our life, things that we want to do, experiences that we want to live out, but I want you just to hold on to one thing right now. You got it? And then I want you to act as if that thing is here right now, that you're experiencing that thing right now. I want you to act like you're experiencing that thing right now. Now, some of you guys should be jumping for joy right now. Some of you guys should be saying, "Woo! Let's go! We in here!" That's how you want to invoke the feeling of being a millionaire or getting your dream car. You want to start acting like that today, because guess what happens? Once you evoke that feeling, once you put that good abundance out into the world, out into the universe, you get back what you put out, right? So right now you should have been yelling and screaming in joy. If your goal is to become a millionaire, you should be jumping up in joy right now, like, yes, right? Saying thank you, thank you. Running around with your children. We made it, y'all. We in here, right? So the feeling gets the blessing. No matter what you think, it's all on how you really feel about what it is that you want in your life, which is going to bring me to my main story today. When I started to, really want or set my intention on just having impact, right? I wanted to, be an inspiration to people. I wanted to help a lot of people. But if I'm honest, I wanted to be rich, right? I wanted to have wealth. I wanted to have money. I wanted to be able to travel without, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I didn't want to have to rob Peter to pay Paul when it came to my rent or to my bills, right? I wanted to be able to just be financially free, right? Who can agree with me? Right now, you just want to be financially free. You don't want to think about finances. Money is not an issue, right? And so back in 2016 is when I can remember where that shift started to happen. And I remember feeling, and this is when when I sold my tax business and I transitioned into real estate for a short period of time. I remember feeling like, okay, how do I talk to people? How do I get leads? Right? That's the strategy part of it. But then when I started really getting into real estate and really figuring out, what all it took to be successful, then the mindset stuff started to creep up. And I started to feel really insecure because the type of income that I wanted to make didn't match what I was doing in real estate, right? I was like, man, I would have to sell like 200 homes just to make, the type of money that I really wanted to make. So I shifted my strategy, right? I was like, okay, Krista, maybe you can become a luxury real estate agent, right? Where now you only have to sell a handful of homes in order to make the revenue that you desire, right? Now, the problem when I made that strategic shift, I said, you need to go into luxury real estate. I didn't have the mindset to really propel me to that level, right? I really didn't believe in myself to sell luxury real estate. I said, who am I? to sell luxury real estate. I could barely afford my $1,300 per month rent then, right? I'm like, I'm on the struggle bus right now. And who am I to think that I can go out and sell $1 million home or even a $500,000 home, right? And so I went on this journey. I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why do I feel this way? And I went on this journey of just learning and discovering on how I can overcome this lack, this feeling of lack that I was feeling at the time. And I remember a very key book that I read probably 3, 4, 5 times. It was called Selling to the Affluent. I was like, okay, if I get this book titled Selling to the Affluent, which is just selling to rich people, right? It'll give me all that I need to know in order to be successful, right? But again, strategy without mindset, you're not going to get anywhere. So I read this book 3 or 4 times. And so what I started to do, I started to read more books, how do successful people carry themselves? I started to read etiquette books, how you should communicate with successful people, how you should walk into a room, the types of clothes that you should wear, right? So I'm like studying all of this stuff to try to, honestly, I was getting to the feeling. I was trying to get the feeling. I had the thought. I had now some tangible strategies, but I still didn't believe in myself. I still felt like I didn't deserve it, right? Because I wasn't rich myself at the end of the day. And so it took me almost a year and a half before I felt somewhat confident on stepping out and selling luxury real estate, right? Getting my first luxury real estate listing. And you guys want to know how simple it was, right? It was so simple. So I took myself through a year and a half of just reading about how to be more confident, how to talk to people, how to communicate, right? I'm trying to evoke these feelings in myself. Finally, I had the nerve to reach out to a luxury real estate construction owner, right? He built luxury homes. And I reached out to him. I just called him up and I was so scared. I was like, I cannot believe I'm cold calling this man who I know is a millionaire, right? And I was just like, hey, actually, let me go back. I door knocked him first. I drove up to his home. I found out where his home was on the MLS. And I drove up to his home and I rang the doorbell, and he had one of those camera systems where he could see me through his door or through the little camera. And he wasn't even home at the time. So he's on his phone looking at me. He's like, hi, how are you? I'm like, hi, I'm a real estate agent and I sell luxury real estate. And I noticed that some of your listings were expired, right? And he's like, okay, well, I'm not home right now. I'm looking at you on my camera, but just leave your card and, I'll call you later. And so I was completely nervous. I was just like, oh my God, I just knocked on somebody's door, right? Like even saying it now is nerve-wracking. Like I really did that. But here's what I want you to know. It took me a whole year and a half to just build up the confidence to go knock on that man's door. And I end up getting like tens of millions of dollars in real estate as a listing, right? And so here's what I want you to know. Once you have the strategy, once you have the belief or the faith, which is the feeling, you feel in alignment to that of what you want, then and only then will you be able to be confident enough to go out and actually implement the things that you know how to do, right? Implement the strategy and the skills that you now have. But I'm telling you, just because you have the strategy, if you don't feel confident enough, if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to delay your success. I delayed my success over a year of my life, was just nervous, right? Was just like, oh my God, what do I do? Or how do I really do it? And I read book after book. I will follow influencer after influencer, trying to build up the confidence just to implement the strategy, right? So the key that I want you guys to hear is the quicker you can correct your mindset, the quicker that you can instill, solid beliefs and solid faith in yourself, the quicker you will experience success. Okay. All right. So let's identify this. What is your philosophy right now? And so I put the definition of philosophy right here. Philosophy is a specific set of ideas of a person or a group. So what is your philosophy right now around money? right? Go ahead and type it in the chat. You might have been raised on, money doesn't grow on trees, or you got to work hard in order to make money, right? What is your philosophy around money? I want you to write that question down, because later after this training video, I want you to really just sit there for about 30 minutes and answer these questions honestly to yourself, right? The second thing that I want you to ask yourself is, what is your philosophy on class? Right. And what I mean by class is, people with money, people with no money. Like, what is your philosophy on class? Right. Mine was, who am I to sell to people with money when I don't have money? Like, that was my core philosophy. Right. But where did I get that from? Right. And we're going to talk about childhood trauma and childhood belief systems that were instilled to us at a very young age. Like, a lot of what we think and believe were instilled in us at a very young age, just passed down from what our parents believe. So know that, and we're going to figure out ways right now to correct some of those hindering belief systems. So what is your philosophy on class? How do you feel about working with people that make more money than you? Right. Question number 3, what is your philosophy on race? Right. Now, this doesn't necessarily affect, non-minorities more than it affects minorities, right? So my white friends and, colleagues, like, they typically don't have this mindset problem when it comes to race. And here's what I'm going to explain to you in just a second. More so minorities feel uncomfortable in certain um, um, demographic settings, right? Even when I was in real estate, I've worked with people that were just like, am I the only Black person that's going to be in this neighborhood? Like, they would ask questions like that. So because most minorities aren't exposed, and most whites aren't exposed to different cultures and different races, we tend to be naturally almost uncomfortable around the other race, right? If you put, most minority people that I know, if they're in a room with all white people, they get a little uncomfortable, right? And vice versa. If you put a white person in an all minority room, they might feel uncomfortable. And so I need you to identify that, right? Challenge that thought. What is your philosophy on race? How do you feel about diversity? How do you feel about working with other people of the other race, right? And I want you to really be honest with yourself. Write it down, because the quicker you can identify any limiting beliefs about other people, about yourself, and any natural bias that you have built up, the quicker we can eliminate them, right? We can correct them. Okay. So the fourth question is, do you feel worthy? Right? Do you feel worthy? At the end of the day, when you look at your dreams, when you look at that dream car, when you think about your dream home, when you think about traveling and the things that you want to do you feel worthy? I want you to write that question down. And if the answer is no, we need to dig deep on why. Why don't I feel worthy? Right? Write it out. This is the beautiful experience about journaling, because you're just having a private conversation with yourself. There's nobody there to judge you, right? Nobody is listening to your deepest, darkest secrets. You are just having a cathartic moment, and you are purging all of these belief systems. You're purging all these ideas that you've been trapping in your mind, right? And in your heart. I want you to write it out. Do you feel worthy? Question mark. And I want you to sit there and think about that, right? If you have even an ounce of feeling like you don't deserve that car, or you don't deserve to travel like that, if you feel an ounce of, no, I gotta struggle in order to be successful, these are some of the things that we need to dive deep on to identify and really dismantle, that's going to allow you to hit your goals, right? The quicker we can identify the problem, the quicker we can provide the solution, the quicker you're going to be able to get to your goals at the end of the day. The fourth thing that I have here is, do you feel entitled? Right? And this is a very interesting word to say, right? Because oftentimes you hear it in a different context. But the truth of the matter is, people that feel entitled actually go after their dreams, their ambitions 10 times more than people that don't feel entitled, right? So, for instance, you can have two people, right? And they can have the exact same skill set. Actually, how about this? Person on the right has way more skills than person on the left, right? They're more knowledgeable, they're more talented, they're more smart, right? This person on the left, they're average Joe. They're mediocre at best. But guess what? Average Joe feels entitled, right? Average Joe is like, I am entitled to success. I am entitled to this big house, to that car. I am entitled to live a great life, right? But the talented person, this is just an example for you guys, right? The talented person over here who is 10 times smarter, 10 times more talented, they don't feel entitled, right? They don't feel like they deserve success. They don't feel like they deserve that house or they deserve to live a great life, right? And so when you have that sense of entitlement, like, yes, I deserve this. I deserve this for my family. I deserve this for myself. I deserve to be impacting and inspiring people. When you have that feeling of entitlement in the positive sense, you go after your goals. So I need you to ask yourself and sit there. Do you feel entitled to your dreams? Do you feel entitled to achieve the big things that, God has really called you to do? Do you feel entitled? And if you do, you are well on your way to hit your goals. You're well on your way to live the life of your dreams. If you don't, it's no problem. We just know now that is an area of mindset deficiency that we need to work on. Okay. Now, here's some other things that I have right here, because this is not an intellectual exercise, right? Mindset is not about who's smart, who's not smart, right? No, it's not about that. This is about really understanding your belief systems and really understanding the feeling that you get when you think about the things that you want, right? All right, so let's go to the next slide here. So the last slide is, what do you truly feel about yourself? Most of our limiting beliefs about ourselves stem from childhood, okay? So this is the last thing that we're going to talk about. When I was a child, I would say when I was about 9 or 10, my father left, okay? And I was pretty much a daddy's girl, he did my hair on Sunday mornings. We went to church. He used to play piano to me on Sunday mornings. He used to play Tevin Campbell, Can We Talk? Can We Talk? I don't know if you know that song, but he used to play that Sunday morning on the piano. He taught me how to cook, right? We would make hamburgers. We have eating contests. We would watch cartoons together. Like, I have very vivid memories of a great, first 9 years of my life, right? He taught me how to ride a bike. He was like, you got to brush your teeth, right? All the values that a father gives their child. And my dad found out that I wasn't his real daughter, right? Family drama. I know I'm giving you guys all the tea today. All the tea. So my father found out that I wasn't his real daughter, right? I was actually the daughter of another man, right? And when he found out that I wasn't his blood daughter, whatever that did for him, he just couldn't take it. And so he left. And so me being a young 9 or 10-year-old girl that was a daddy's girl, I didn't understand. No one explained to me, why he left. No one explained, how, the first love of my life, my father, how he could just leave like that with no explanation, no anything, right? So subconsciously, you can understand that in our childhood, there has been trauma that has happened to us that we never really had time, or we never was afforded the luxury of identifying and talking and communicating, right? My mom didn't sit down and explain to me what happened, right? She didn't say it wasn't your fault, right? She didn't say, this is just something that he had to deal with, and here's my mistakes, right? No adult came to me and had these conversations with me. And so what you start to really identify, if you allow yourself to really dig deep and go raw with yourself, what you start to really identify is some of the behaviors and some of the things that you've been doing in your adult life, some of the relationships, even how you run your business, how, you work with colleagues, how you communicate, is all stemming from subconscious behavior, right? It's all stemming from things that happen in our childhood, right? So how can we sit down and assess the things, the trauma that has happened? And so it all goes back to journaling, just being honest with yourself, right? So after so many times, what would end up happening? You're going to keep coming up to the same type of experience. And sometimes it's a negative experience, right? This could be the same type of boyfriend or girlfriend. This could be the same type of drama in your life. This could be the same type of living situation. Whatever the case may be, you're going to keep experiencing these loops because you are trying to solve a problem that you don't really know that you have. You keep coming up against the same thing, just a different version, because you haven't truly identified the root cause of it. Right. So, and here's an example. I would constantly break up with all of my boyfriends, right? Giving you guys more tea, right? Break up with all of my boyfriends, right? Why? Because deep down, I'm like, no, I'm going to leave him before he leaves me. Right. And it happened every relationship. I've dated some really great guys, right? If I say so myself, I've dated some really great guys. It's just, I would have this subconscious belief system that one day he's going to leave me. So instead of him leaving me like my father left me when I was 9, I need to break up with him, right? I need to just leave him because he's going to break up with me anyway, right? Something's going to happen. He's going to leave. So once you identify some childhood trauma that you've really been dealing with, now you're actually able to expand your capacity. Now you're actually able to have some grace with yourself, right? We're all human. We've all had human experiences. Nobody is perfect. But the key to really becoming successful is you got to know where you are weak at. You got to know what is holding you back, right? You got to know your blind spots. And if you don't know what's holding you back, your blind spots, where you're weak at, you can't become better. Right? So I need you to take a pen and paper and ask yourself, what is some painful situations that I've gone through in my life? You might not even feel anything about it now. Like I thought in my mind about my father at 9 leaving, I thought I was fine with that. I thought I was over that. I didn't realize that was still the issue till like 2 years ago. I was 30 years old, right? I'm a grown woman by then. So the key here was I never analyzed. I never sat there with my thoughts, with my feelings, with my emotions and talked it out. Right. And then after I started talking it out, I started actually seeing patterns. Right. So I want you to ask yourself, what are some childhood trauma that I'm holding on to? When I say trauma, I just mean anything. It could just be anything that just caused you to feel uncomfortable or caused your feelings to be hurt as a child. Right. It doesn't have to, I'm not saying everybody had a crazy childhood experience. Right. But there are little pieces of your childhood that you can pinpoint that has a direct correlation to how you think today and who you are today. Right. So I was talking to somebody else and they were like, yeah, I had a great childhood, Krista. I had a loving parent, they provided for me and everything. And then come to find out when you dug a little deeper, that person didn't have their father in their life. Right. They had a wonderful mother. They had a wonderful support system, but they didn't have their father. Right. And if you have any deficiencies, right, if you didn't grow up in a 2-parent household, you probably have some childhood trauma. You probably have some limiting beliefs about yourself. Right. So, or if you just saw your mom just work and provide for the family and just take care, like those beliefs are subconsciously starting to formulate into who you are and your core values today. So you have to go back. Even if you feel like your childhood was great, you have to go back and say, hey, what are some things that I've experienced in my life? Where were the key markers is what I call them. We all can go back the past 10, 15, 20 years of our life, and there are very key markers, right, that are indelible. We remember, we can recall. So what are those key markers for you? And now, how do we reprogram them, right? So I told you about my situation with my dad, right? How can we reprogram a different belief system? If your belief system is, oh, I don't deserve this, and oh, I have to work hard, or oh, money doesn't grow on trees, or oh, I have to struggle in order to get to the end result, you're going to keep coming up against the same scenario. So we need to start reprogramming a different belief system, right? Reprogramming a different belief system. So one of the things that has allowed me to reprogram is just to one, ask a different question, right? So for instance, instead of me thinking, oh, my dad left me when I was 9, you start asking a different question like, what was his experience? What did he go through? I wonder how hard it was for him to walk away from a child that he was raising and that he loved so much, right? What was his trauma with that? When you start reversing it and looking at the other situations and start being empathetic to people, you start to see that it's really not you. It was really their own trauma that they're going through, right? And that gives you a sense of peace. And it's not, oh, he left me. It's, oh, he was dealing with some trauma of his own. He was scared. He didn't know how to handle that situation. He didn't know how to step up and still provide for a child that he just now found out that, he wasn't emotionally available and ready for that scenario just yet. You start to really paint scenarios on and being empathetic to the other party, right? And that can be sometimes hard to do, but that is a trait of a highly emotionally intelligent person, when you're able to see, even when somebody's doing you wrong, that it's not about you, it's about them. It's about their trauma. It's about what they went through. It's about how they were raised and their childhood. And if you can come from a stem of empathy, right, as opposed to you being the victim, you can start systematically reprogramming a different belief system into yourself, right? So that's what I had. I had to reprogram that belief system. Like, it wasn't about me, right? He didn't leave me to be mean. He didn't leave me to punish me, right? He just wasn't in a place in his life to be emotionally available to handle that situation, right? He wasn't in a place to handle being deceived for 9+ years, right? And so you start to tell yourself a different program so you can get a different outcome. So that's just one strategy. The last strategy that I did was, journaling is great. Journaling and what we've done here, where I'm asking you questions and you have to identify the answers to your own questions, this is great, right? The problem is sometimes you might not know the right questions to ask yourself in order to get the right answer that you need to move forward, to grow, and to expand. So sometimes we have to go outside of ourselves. We have to go to therapists or counselors or, trusted friends or family, like people that are highly emotionally intelligent. You can't just tell everybody your business, right? And they have to know what are the right questions, not tell you what to do, right? But what is the right question that they can ask you to help you self-identify some limiting beliefs, that can help you overcome any trauma, that can help you really step into and find the answer on your own. People shouldn't tell you what to do. They should be asking you questions, and you should be able to come to the decision on your own. You should be able to come to the conclusions on your own. So as long as you know the right questions to ask, and sometimes it's a question as, why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel like this? Right? Sometimes we don't even ask that question, right? We just start feeling stuff and we just let those feelings take over. Those feelings just start percolating. And, if it's anger, you're just angry. If it's sadness, you're just sad. But not really digging deep and asking yourself, why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel angry? Or why do I feel sad? Why am I feeling down? And once you actually start going through your emotions yourself, it's like a whole completely different self-discovery. Once you can start to self-assess yourself, you're going to be able to do anything. You're going to be able to achieve anything. You're going to be able to control your emotions in any type of situation, right? Not saying you won't get off kiltered or tilted, whatever the word is, right? But you are going to be able to identify why you feel the way you feel and to provide a question that will get you to a solution, right? It's all about asking the right questions for yourself. All right, guys. So this was a really deep conversation today. I'm sorry I had to go so deep on you guys. But I really hope that this would be really the foundation to a beginning for you, right? That you will start identifying your mindset and how you really feel about yourself. Really, the feeling gets the blessing. We can think we want to be successful all day long, but if you do not feel that way, it's going to be hard to reach that level of success, to reach your ideal goals. And I told you the best way to get that feeling is to invoke it today. You can invoke the feeling of hitting the lottery on demand when you want to. And it's fascinating. Like once you realize how fascinating the brain is, and all of that good energy, all of that good vibrations and frequency is vibrating out. So you receive the same energy that you put out, right? If you looking at somebody's live video or YouTube video and you being negative, guess what? That's going to come back to you, right? If you are looking at, situations and things that's happening in the world with empathy, guess what? You get that back. If you are sending success and goodwill and empowerment to the people that you are in connection with, whether it's online or offline, guess what? You get that back. So stay in the feeling of abundance, stay in the feeling that you deserve it, that you're entitled to live a great life, and you will start to slowly attract everything that you want. And actually, not even attract, you're going to notice it already being experienced in your life. We don't have to pull things to us, it's already here. You just have to start experiencing it. Right. All right, guys. If you have any questions, drop them below. I will see you guys. I might pop in for part 2 of this, depending on what type of questions you have, what resonated with you. So definitely drop your comments, DM me. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can head on over to Instagram or Facebook, send me a private message. I want to know, like, what aha moments did you get? What type of lessons did you learn, and how you're actually going to take what you learned today and actually implement it in your life. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye. Bye, YouTube.